We are officially entering FPL launch week, and today we got some pretty big price reveals from Odegaard to Trippier. Mitoma price got revealed as well, but most importantly, Haaland and Salah prices got revealed today. Later on, we got some prices from the relegated team, and we are ending with a banger. Just wait until the end to see it. We've got some pretty interesting price coming from Liverpool, and you'll be surprised to see who got a pretty big rise and who will be a pretty hard fit into your team. But let's go one by one. First, we'll discuss the 20 players that got leaked and then go into the more reviews that went through the day. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a like under the video. A lot more FPL preseason content is coming your way, so be prepared. Write down in the comment section if you consider some of the prices overpriced or underpriced. I want to hear your opinion as well. And now guys, without further ado, let's jump into the video. We are starting with the first 5 reviews. Odegaard and Bruno were the first 2 players that got revealed. Odegaard got a pretty big boost from last season, but that was expected. He was the guy that scored the most double goals in the game. He is just terrifically good and he's their captain, so he's nailed. He may even take some penalties if Saka and Jesus are not on the field, but that's a little probability. The other player that got leaked, firstly, as mentioned, is Bruno. Bruno price is pretty interesting. He's got a massive price drop. I believe that he would have gotten price rise, but he is just under 9 million right now. He's in a little bit of a strange place, being 8.5 and maybe the same price as Rashford and Saka, but he got something big in his favor. He got penalties, and that's pretty important in this time of the season because we don't know form, we don't know anything, and the penalty takers are a pretty good place to start. So Bruno is a guy to watch. We see if he is replaced by Mount or where Mount plays or how they set up. If he's going to be a right winger, he will got more scoring opportunities. We just have to see, but Bruno price is pretty interesting. Then Watkins and Mitoma got released. Mitoma 6.5, this is perfectly fine for me because I expected him to be 7.0 or even 7.5, and he is almost nailed in my team with this price reveal. Mitoma pretty good. Watkins on the other hand 8.0. This very high price, this surprise rise, and with Aston Villa having an European fixtures, he may be rested in some fixtures, and with so little money to be spent elsewhere because we have some pretty expensive premiums. 8.0 for Aston Villa striker, even though he got to a pretty good purple patch. I don't see him in my game week 1 draft. I believe Callum Wilson will be the same price, and it will be pretty difficult to choose Watkins over Wilson. But yeah, we'll see. And finally, on this page, we got Morris. He is the Luton striker. He got 20 goals last season for their team in the championship, and that's a pretty big number. Yeah, Prem and Championship are very different animals, and I'm not sure that he will be up to par, but with their good fixtures from the start and having a strong Luton player for 5.5 and a starter, he just signed a new contract. I believe he will be not replaced by someone, and having him a starter for 5.5 with so little money to spend elsewhere for my third striker option, he seems a very viable option. I can just put him on the bench, place my defender in it, my fourth defender, or just go with him and expect him to score a goal. We have to see how Luton will be lining up in the preseason friendlies because that will be pretty important. But yeah, pretty good page. Odegaard and Watkins maybe a no-go, but the other 3 guys are pretty interesting and may be considered in my shortlist for game week 1. Next up, a lot of new players to the fantasy game were released. And Dyer from Sheffield, he is a good striker. He is not as good as Morris in my opinion, and for the same price I'm not going for him. So basically this page is a guys that I'm not going to be going for. I expected Mbuemo to be position changed, and with Tony being out for the half of the season, I believe that he'll be playing their main striker or just to be rotated to Wissa, and him being out of position may be pretty interesting because he will be on penalties for the start of the season, but he's the same price as Mitoma. If I don't go for 2 players around the same price and just one a little bit more expensive, it will be hard to fill in Mbuemo instead of Mitoma because Mitoma more favorable fixtures. And Nkunku, a new player, I expect him to be a midfielder, to be perfectly honest, and I would have gone for him, but as a striker, I prefer their new striker Jackson, because Nkunku may score a lot of goals, but for this price, he will take a lot of my budget, and he is a no-go for me. I will have to see what Jackson price will be, because it will be interesting if he is cheaper or the same price, but we will have to see how they will line up, and I don't see Nkunku being their main man. He is out of position player, but on the wrong side, he may be a midfielder playing as a striker, and that's not a very good thing for fantasy. As a price rise, he is not as good as Mitoma and even Mbuemo, so Crystal Palace, I will be staying away from him. And the most interesting guy here is Kluivert. I believe that he will be my fourth option midfielder, or even fifth. He is playing in Bournemouth, yeah, but he is a 5.0 and he is basically a striker. But yeah, right winger to say, but he can play as a striker. He will not replace Solanke, but he will complement him very well. And I believe for 5.0 it will be a very, very difficult price to avoid. So he's added into the shortlist, and Nkunku and Mbuemo maybe, but Ezent and Daya, sorry guys, they're not for me. Next up, we've got revealed a lot of goalkeepers. We'll talk about them first. Leno and Pickford, 4.5. A pretty good rotation pair, as I already mentioned in my defensive rotation pairs. Check out that video, it's in my channel, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I am going to share to you. Fulham and Everton are rotating pretty well, and if you are the guy to go for rotating goalkeepers, Leno and Pickford may be for you. Just check out the defensive rotation, I explain it a lot better than here. Then Sa got 5.0 price revealed. I don't see picking him. 5.0, I believe it will be the same price as Ramsdale, and going for a Wolves keeper instead of Arsenal keeper, not for me, but Pickford and Leno are in my team. Shortlist for sure, not in my real team for now, but shortlisted for sure. I don't want rotating goalkeepers because I seem to be missing a lot of points, but I may consider it, because if I go for 5.0 and 4.0 in the bench, it's 9 million. If I go for 4.5, it's again 9 million, so the budget is the same. Lucas Paqueta, 6.0, nothing too special about him. We have to see how Newcastle will be lining up. If Declan Rice is being sold, what is going to be for them? I mean, I'm not interested in West Ham attackers right now. Last but not least is Trippier. As I predicted in my price prediction videos for the premiums, he's 6.5. You can check my prices, they're pretty similar to what got released. I got several players bang on already, but I missed someone. Yeah, it's pretty interesting video as well, check it out. But yeah, Trippier 6.5 with Newcastle start of the season, and with them having a Champions League football, I don't see going so high to invest in Trippier. He's a bonus magnet, he's playing very well, he's nailed, he got set pieces, everything that you need in a defender, unless the price is that high and their team is not set yet, because they're buying Tonali, who can improve their defense or just disrupt their team. We will see Bruno Guimaraes placed even up ahead on the field, and he will be playing maybe with Joelinton, the two guys. It will be a very, very strong midfield with three strong midfielders. But yeah, Trippier is too expensive for my liking, but I will add him into my short list because it's Trippier and he was the best defender last season. So I will take Leno, Trippier and Pickford from here, and we will continue with the most interesting page and what you are almost all of you waiting for, the Haaland price review. Here you have it, guys. This is Erling Haaland's price. He is 14.0 million. He is the tied for highest priced ever, but he deserves it, let's be honest. I thought that he would be 13 to 13.5, but 14 million is pretty excessive. If you consider that and your bench, who is going to be minimum 17 million, that's 31 million in 5 guys, and that's 10 guys with 69 million left, which is not a lot, but you have to compromise somewhere else because you need Haaland. So many players got burnt last year, and not going for Haaland will be suicidal. Next up, Salah, 12.5, sorry. He got a price drop. That is pretty strange, but it's pretty good. You can try to fit him in with Haaland, but it will be hella hard because you compromise somewhere else a lot more. Maybe with Haaland you can go with a little bit of Mitoma, Morrison, and maybe some playing players, but with Salah you have to go with Morrison and Dyer and many more Luton and Sheffield players because you won't have a lot more money if you go for both of them. But if you want to play the game that way, it's your decision. Personally, I believe I will be going for a 1 premium this season for the start at least, but we'll have to see the other prices that will be revealed later this week. Next up, Heung-min Son, he got a price drop of 3 million from last season. He was 12 and now he's 9. He is in the same price range as Bruno and Odegaard, sorry. And for the start of the season, he may be a good option to be picked because he got pretty interesting fixtures. He will be in a new manager who likes to play attacking football. He is, I believe, fully healed from his injury that he had last season, so he will be ready to destroy teams once again. And the last 2 players that got leaked were Morgan Gibbs-White, who is a midfielder. He got a little bit of price rise, 6 million. He's an okay player. I enjoy him. I see that he did pretty okay. He got more returns than Bruno last year. So going for him, maybe you'll get more points than from Bruno, but he's not as nailed as it seems because Nottingham got so many players to be rotated, but he will be a very, very good option. And last but not least is Benson. He is a midfielder. He is playing as a left winger. He got dropped from some games and he just missed the last couple of game weeks, but he's a pretty good winger. He scored several goals. He was one of their biggest attacking threats, so going for him may be a good option, but for 5.5 and Kluivert being 5.0, it's a hard choice to pick Benson over him. But yeah, if you enjoy Burnley, he is a very, very well priced player. Next up, we got some Luton players to discuss. The forward Adebayo 5.0, he is a no-go for me. Morrison is just better, he's more nailed. Adebayo did not start as many games, did not score as much goals. Yeah, he is cheaper, but I don't want a striker that's not going to score goals, even if it's for 5.0. If he becomes a regular starter and I don't need Morrison anymore, I need to save money, he is an option because he will be playing, but for now I'm staying away from him. Also from defense, sorry, but for 4.5 for the start, I'm not going for a promoted side defender because, as you can see, there is Bell, who is a starting defender for 4.0. So Bell is a pretty good option and I'm immediately adding it to the shortlist because he is starting. They're playing 3 at the back, so both of them are playing as a center backs. But one is 4.5, the other is 4.0. We have to see if preseason is a good indication who will be starting in their defense, if they're making some transfers. If Bell is dropping down the pecking order, I will not be picking him, but I will not pick Osho for sure. So from here I take Bell. Clark, he is the midfielder that scored the most important goal in their history, the goal that in the championship playoff final. He is 5.0, but he is just a central midfielder and I prefer Kluivert, who will be a winger, and maybe not. Both of them are not pretty, let's say, deserve to be picked. So if I go for a player, I will be going for a winger at that price because 5.0 is a pretty good price. And yeah, it's more expensive than 4.5, so not being on the bench, but 5.0, sorry Quark, you're not on the team as well. Only Bell I take from here, and let's hope we have more defenders from their team that are going to be 4.0. Next up, Sheffield. Those players, I just don't like them. Norwood for 5.0, nothing too interesting about him. Birch again 5.0, they're the same to me. Ahmedojic, sorry, I pretty much butchered his name, but I cannot read it properly. He's 4.5, just explained with Luton players that I'm not going for a 4.5 not proven defenders in the Prem. I'll just pick a 4.5 that is proven, like Tarkovsky maybe, or someone from Aston Villa, or someone from Brighton, something like that, but not from a completely new site and not proven FPL player. And McBurney 5.5, he is the least interesting striker so far under the 6.0 that I've seen. I just don't see him better than Morrison. I may be overhyping Morrison because Luton may be a punchback this season, we have to see, but Morris just scored more goals, and yeah, if I have to pick someone for that price, it will be the Luton player, not McBurney. Next up is Burnley, and I see pretty interesting players here. Hear me out, Brownhill and Zarauri. So, Brownhill 5.0, he's a central midfielder. He's already proven in the Prem. Last season when they were in the Prem, he was 4.5 and he was scoring goals. He continued doing so last year. So he's a pretty good shout out to be picked for a fourth midfielder next to Clivert. So both of them are in my shortlist. But Zarauri, he's a winger for 5.0 as well. And he scored several goals, not as much as Benson on the right, but as a left winger, did pretty okay. And if he is nailed, if he is staying, and if he is playing for sure, he will be a very, very good option as well. I prefer Brownhill because he has a goal threat. He is already proven in the Prem. He's not exciting as Zarauri because he can pick more goals from that winger's position. But yeah, Brownhill, a very good shout out. Roberts, he's already played in the Prem, so he has experience. Even though he is from a newly promoted side, he has a pretty good record playing in the Prem. He was in Burnley for several seasons before they got relegated, so he is an option. And as I already mentioned, go and check out my rotations. I have Burnley in one of my rotations, so he is a good fullback to be picked. And last but not least is Muric, 4.5 for a goalkeeper. He's a no-go for me. I have already two of my favorite cheap goalkeepers being Leno and Pickford already priced as a 4.5, so he is just not going to be picked, especially by me. So yeah, I take several players here in my shortlist. Brownhill, Zarauri, Roberts, all of them are pretty much in contention to be picked. They can be benched, they can be rotated, but let's see the other players first. And next up, we have a pretty big team. Yeah, it's Liverpool, and it's pretty interesting because we have a pretty big price reveal that's going to scare a lot of players from picking that specific player. Last but not least, we're finishing with Liverpool prices, and oh boy, there are some prices. We will start with the most important player here. It's Trent. He's still a defender, which is good, but his price is 8.0 million. That's a record for the most expensive defender ever. His movement up to midfield is bringing his price even higher than it usually is, and he's the same price as Saka last year. I mean, that's a hard fit into your team, but still for now, I'll consider him very, very highly for my Game Week 1 draft because he's that good. On the other hand, Robertson is remaining to be the second most expensive Liverpool defender as it seems. We don't know the Van Dijk price yet, but I don't see it being over 6 million. And yeah, Robo got a price drop and he is now 6.5. And if Liverpool return to a system with 4 defenders, Liverpool will change their system because they're making a lot of midfielders introductions and I don't see any of them staying on the bench. So Trent may be reduced to a right back role. We'll have to see. But if Robo is back on his attacking left side of the defense, 6.5 is a big underpricing, and I believe that Robo will be key in some point of this season. But for the start, we'll have to see the preseason, how Trent is playing, and we can always drop Trent to Robo, but it's very hard to go from Robo to Trent. So consider this in your building tips for the upcoming season. Darwin, interestingly enough, he is 7.5. This is a pretty good price. And if by any chance Jota and Gakpo are out and Darwin is the only striker left, he will be a pretty good striker. I believe that in his second season he will score more goals, but he will be rotated with Gakpo. So it's a very hard pass for me because for that price I can fit in a lot of different players and Nunes is not the best one there is. So for the start of the season, he is an avoid. And McAllister 6.0, it's a pretty interesting price, I have to be honest. He's a midfielder. He will be playing maybe as an attacking 10, so maybe in the position of Curtis Jones, so he will have a lot of attacking options. If Salah by any chance is not on the pitch, maybe he will be their second penalty taker. We'll have to see. We have to see if Curtis Jones remain in his ordinary position that he finished last season, but at the start maybe Jones will miss because he's in the under 21 Euro with England and they're already in a semi-final, so we have to see what's going on. But 6.0 for a starter number 10 for Liverpool that is going to play, Seems pretty okay with the Szoboszlai's new transfer. The midfielder is shaping up to be like Trent, holding GM, Szoboszlai and McAllister. So that leaves enough space for Gakpo, Diaz and Salah. And Robo, Konate and Van Dijk will be the three at the back. So only this holding GM is missing. If it's McAllister, a hard pass. But if McAllister is playing the Curtis Jones role, he may be into a very, very deep consideration by me for the game week 1 because he's 6.0. He's cheaper than Mitoma, who is better at 6.5, but we have to consider everything with Haaland and Trent taking up 22 million of our budget for 2 players. That's absurd, and 70 million going to the bench. 39 million is spent on 6 players. That is a very, very high number. I wanted him to be 7.5, but with 8.0, I will waste a lot of money from the start. Only if Liverpool seem to be keeping their way of playing with Trent developing to midfield. If he is not worth 8.0. Sorry, but Trippier is just the same output for 1.5 less. So we have to consider every option, but for sure, Liverpool are coming with a bang, and Salah price is dropping, Robertson as well, but Trent is with an increased price. If you enjoyed the video so far, please subscribe to the channel. All of your help is much appreciated. As already mentioned, write down in the comment section your thoughts about those players and those prices, and I will see you very, very soon with another price review video, maybe even tomorrow. But for now, guys, I'll be heading out. Bye!